Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into ASC 330 inventory training, specifically Section 3 of 6, measuring inventory cost for merchandise and manufacturing. Our goal today is to really master these US GAAP inventory roles to prevent those common yet super costly accounting errors. Let's find out exactly what belongs on the balance sheet versus the income statement. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the cost principle, then look at merchandise inventory costs, the manufacturing cost formula, allocating manufacturing overhead, and finally, wrap up with manufacturing costing systems. All right, Section 1, the cost principle. Let's establish the golden rule of inventory accounting. So inventory is initially measured at cost, but what does cost actually mean in this context? Well, it includes all expenditures directly or indirectly incurred to bring inventory to its present location and condition for sale or use in production. Now, what's absolutely crucial here is that emphasis on present location and condition. That is your benchmark. Literally every single cost required to get those goods ready belongs in the inventory bucket. Let's compare these two distinct paths. On one hand, you've got costs that build up the asset value on your balance sheet, basically anything that brings the item to its present location or condition. On the flip side, we have period expenses hitting the income statement. If a cost is incurred after the goods are ready for sale, or if it's completely unrelated to production, it gets expensed immediately in that current period. Knowing exactly where to draw this line, yeah, that's everything.
Moving on to Section 2, merchandise inventory costs.
Let's break down exactly what goes into the inventory bucket and what stays out. Purchase price net of discounts? Yep, capitalize it. Free in to get the goods to your warehouse? Import duties and transit insurance? Absolutely. Those all directly relate to getting the inventory to its location. But what about freight out to your customer? No way. That's a selling expense. Post-production storage, general administrative costs, and abnormal waste? Keep those out of the bucket entirely. Now listen up, because here is a classic trap. Expensing freight in. You must always capitalize freight in. When inventory is purchased and freight is paid to get it to the warehouse, that cost builds up your inventory asset. Expensing it accidentally understates your inventory on the balance sheet and artificially inflates your period expenses. Just remember this simple rule of thumb. Freight in is capitalized and freight out is expensed. All right, let's shift gears to the factory floor. Section 3, the manufacturing cost formula. When we're looking at manufacturing companies, building up the cost of a finished good follows this essential three-component formula. Your finished goods cost equals direct materials plus direct labor plus manufacturing overhead. Let's explore exactly what fits into these three buckets. It really all comes down to direct versus indirect costs. Direct costs are things we can physically and practically trace right to the product. Think of the wood in a piece of furniture or the wages of an assembly line worker. Indirect costs, on the other hand, absolutely support production, but you just can't trace them to one specific unit, like factory rent or a supervisor's salary. So the crucial point here is the detective work involved, physically tracing the direct materials and labor while allocating those indirect support costs.
Let's ground this with some practical examples. Assembly worker wages and raw cotton? Easy. Those are direct labor and direct materials. But a factory supervisor's salary, cleaning supplies, and machine depreciation? Well, those support the factory as a whole, so they're manufacturing overhead and get capitalized into inventory. Notice the sales director's salary, though. Since it's not a manufacturing cost at all, it is strictly a period expense and never touches the inventory balance. Which brings us to Section 4, allocating manufacturing overhead. Since we can't trace overhead directly, we have to allocate it using a reasonable and consistent basis. The golden rule here, your allocation base has to reflect how the factory actually consumes those resources. Your main options are usually direct labor hours, direct labor cost, machine hours, or units produced. For instance, if you're looking at a highly automated robotic factory, allocating overhead based on direct labor hours makes absolutely no sense, right? Machine hours would be the true driver there. Let's walk through a worked example to show how we assign these abstract costs mathematically. Imagine our factory has a total estimated manufacturing overhead of $120,000 for the year, and we estimate 30,000 total machine hours. Now, let's look at our products. Product batch A took 500 machine hours, and batch B took 800. So taking that $120,000 and dividing it by 30,000 hours gives us our predetermined overhead rate of exactly $4 per machine hour. And this brilliantly illustrates the bridge between total factory costs and individual products.
Product batch A used 500 hours, so at $4 an hour, it absorbs $2,000 of overhead. Batch B used 800 hours, absorbing $3,200. That is how we systematically attach untraceable costs to actual physical goods. Moving right along to our final segment. Section 5, Manufacturing Costing Systems. Now, companies use different systems to track all this based on their specific operations. Job order costing tracks materials, labor, and overhead for specific custom batches. Think custom furniture makers or construction projects. Process costing is for mass producers of identical units, like bottled water. You just divide total cost by the total equivalent units produced. Finally, standard costing uses predetermined expected costs for every unit, rather than trying to track every real-time penny. But as we all know, reality rarely matches our plans perfectly. Standard costing creates what we call variances when the actual incurred costs deviate from our planned standards. Say we expected labor to cost $3,000 for a batch, but actual labor came in at $3,400. Boom, we have a $400 unfavorable variance. If standard overhead was $2,000, but we actually spent $2,300, that's a $300 unfavorable variance. Management teams absolutely obsess over these variances to control operations and pinpoint exactly where they might be losing money. Here's a critical distinction in how we report these costs. Internal management teams often love variable costing, which only capitalizes variable costs and immediately expenses fixed overhead. But here's the warning. For external financial statements under US GAAP, you absolutely must use full absorption costing. That means all manufacturing costs, including fixed overhead like rent, must be fully absorbed into the inventory asset. Expensing fixed overhead immediately understates your inventory and overstates cost of goods sold. Don't fall into that trap. So what does this all mean in practice? I'll leave you with this provocative question to think about. How could a simple misallocation of overhead, like say picking labor hours instead of machine hours, distort a company's perceived profitability and trigger a massive audit adjustment at year-end? Think about it. If you get the allocation base wrong, you get the product cost wrong, the inventory balance wrong, and your profit margins are completely distorted. Getting these calculations right is absolutely crucial in the real world. Think on that, and I'll catch you in our next training section.